So first reading in alternative investments is reading number 26, hedge fund strategies. This reading is again, most of it is theoretical, and most of the strategies which you see in this reading are the same as for which you have done an introductory level for which introductory level information or understanding was provided in level 1 and level 2. So starting with it, before we go into it, you know that hedge funds are a type of alternative investments, and there are two key categories of investments: alternative investments and traditional investments. Traditional investments include normal equity and common equity and bonds, and everything other than equity and fixed income, normal equity and fixed income, is alternative investment. Like, for example, it could include commodities, it could include derivatives, it could include real estate, and it could include hedge funds as well. So now we are discussing hedge funds, which is the type of alternative investments. So how are hedge funds differentiated, or what are the key from traditional investment? What are the key differentiating factors between hedge funds and traditional investment? Low regulatory and legal constraints, flexibility to use short selling and derivatives. Generally in traditional investments you only take long positions, that is, you buy assets, you do not short sell them. But with hedge funds you take long positions as well as short selling positions. Larger investment universe, aggressive investment exposures, comparatively free use of leverage, liquidity constraints for investors, lack of transparency, higher cost structures. And due to being different from traditional investments, they tend to have a low correlation with traditional investments, and so they offer diversification benefits if they are added to traditional investment portfolio. So if you have a portfolio of traditional investments, and within that if you also add hedge fund investment, then that will offer diversification, because that these two will have low correlation among them. Now moving on, how do hedge funds make returns, or what are the strategies that they use? So key classifications of their strategies include equity related, that is focusing on equity stocks, that is buying or selling equity stocks. Event driven, that is capitalizing on corporate actions. So for example, if a merger is happening, if an acquisition is happening, if there is a bankruptcy happening, so capitalizing on that and finding out opportunity to buy undervalued and sell overvalued securities. Relative value, that is finding out arbitrage opportunities, for example fixed income arbitrage or convertible bond arbitrage, that is finding out if fixed income instruments are correctly priced or not, and if you find out any arbitrage, that is any instrument mispriced, then you buy undervalued and sell overvalued. Opportunistic, that is using top-down approach, that is analyzing the overall global macro trends and using a strategy of managed futures as well. A specialist, that is require specialized market expertise. For example, volatility strategies, that is taking position for volatilities, that is, for example, if you think volatility will go up, buying volatility futures. If you think volatility will go down, taking a short position in volatility. And another type of strategy is reinsurance strategy, which is also a type of specialist strategies. Then multi-manager strategies, which combine different strategies, and the key examples are multi-manager funds and funds of funds. That is, that they use different types of strategies, combine different types of strategies, and so they offer more diversification benefits compared to these. So these are the key classifications, and within these are the strategies being used. Like in equity related, you have long short strategy, you have dedicated short bias strategy, you have equity market neutral strategy. Then in event driven, you could have strategies for governance activities, M&A, bankruptcies, etc. And in relative value, you could have strategies such as fixed income arbitrage or convertible bond arbitrage. Then in opportunistic, you have strategies such as global macro and managed futures. So all these are strategies which fall within these categories, and now we'll move on to discussing these strategies more in detail. So long short equity means that you buy undervalued securities and you sell overvalued securities. This is long short, that is taking a long position and at the same time also taking short positions. So generally when you take long positions, you will have a positive exposure to beta to market. With short sell, you have opposite exposure to market. And the differential between these two is your net exposure. And so beta of overall portfolio will be beta of long position, positive beta, plus negative beta of positions, that is positive beta minus that is long position beta minus short position beta. That gives you the portfolio exposure, that what is the net exposure or portfolio beta for you. They typically have 40 to 60% net exposure. This means the net long exposure. This means their if their, for example, long positions are 140%, then their short positions will be 100%. So on net basis, long positions will be about 40% to 60% more compared to short positions. Then dedicated short selling and short buyers, which are biased towards short selling. So they short overvalued securities. So again, they will also have long and short both positions, just like long short. But key difference is in long short equity, your focus is more on long positions. That is, your long positions are more than short positions. So for example, your net exposure will be a net long exposure. But in short selling and in dedicated short selling and short buyers strategies, your net exposure will be short exposure. That is 60 to 120% short exposure. That is, you will have very less number of long value of long positions, and most of your positions will be short positions. That is dedicated short selling and short buyers. And obviously these strategies will benefit if market falls or if the assets price falls. And you can go through all these points. I will just be talking about the type of strategy, and then you can read through all the points, which are fairly simple. Equity market neutral. So just like long short strategy, again in equity market neutral, again you take long position as well as short position. But the key difference is that here you tend to take long and short position in such a way that these two offset each other. That is, the net exposure to market is neutralized or removed. That is, you do not then you do not have any exposure to market. That is, if market goes up, you wouldn't have any significant impact. If market goes down, you still wouldn't have any significant impact on portfolio. Your portfolio's impact or return will truly depend on alpha, your ability to find out undervalued and overvalued securities or mispricing in the market. So your source of return will be mispricing in the market, your ability to find out mispricing, and not the overall market movement. Then merger arbitrage, that is earned from uncertainty in the market between an acquisition being announced and completed. So if you could correctly anticipate that whether acquisition will happen or not, you can make a trade to benefit from that. So for example, writing insurance on an acquisition. If there is an acquisition which is to happen, it has been announced, and you know that this acquisition will get completed. So what you can do is you can write insurance on acquisition, and in this way this insurance will provide you a premium, so you will earn a premium. And against this premium, you will say that if this acquisition does not happen, then I will pay off the benefit. But as you know that acquisition will happen, so you will earn insurance premium, and when acquisition gets completed, you will earn acquisition premium and no payment will have to be made from your end. So you will capitalize on your information or your analysis. Or another example could be in a stock for a stock deal in which acquisition is being made for a stock, that is selling company as buying company is purchasing the target company, acquirer is purchasing the target company using the shares of its own. Then you purchase target company stock and short acquirer stock in the expectation that acquirer's stock will fall and target company's stock will go up. So this is merger arbitrage, but clearly, obviously, you need to have a clear understanding, or you need to have you need to be certain about what is going to happen in future. If your expectations or predictions do not hold true, then you will have significant losses. Then distressed securities. These are those securities which are either near bankruptcy or in bankruptcy, or which are about to go bankrupt, or are significantly undervalued due to being in bad shape. So taking position in these securities, and the aim is that if this company is then turned around, or if a turnaround happens, then you will benefit. Why? Because you have bought it at a very low price. Or another reason is that quite often what happens is, for distressed securities, insurance companies, banks and other institutions, they tend to offload these securities. They tend to sell off these securities from their portfolios because they do not have mandates to be investing into such risky securities. So as they sell it off, their prices go down and they become undervalued. So you can benefit from buying these securities at undervalued prices. Fixed income arbitrage, that is finding out arbitrage opportunities and capitalizing on the temporary mispricing of fixed income instruments. That is, if you have two fixed income instruments which are similar and one is of lower value and the other is having a higher price, then you buy the undervalued, which is the lower price, and you short the overvalued, which is the higher price. You can have yield curve trades or carry trades within this strategy. So yield curve trades means capitalizing on expected change in shape of yield curve. That is, if you expect a certain change in yield curve, basis that if you take a position to benefit, that is yield curve trade. Or carry trade, that is you short low yield securities and long high yield securities. Because high yield securities are generally of low credit quality and so undervalued, and low yield securities are often of high credit quality and so overvalued. Then convertible bond arbitrage, again profiting from purchasing the implied volatility of convertible bond. That is, if you think that convertible bond is not priced correctly in the market or is mispriced or is underpriced, then you buy it, or if you find if it is overpriced, then you sell it. So all these are equity, event driven and relative value strategies, the types of these three types classifications of strategies. Now, next type is opportunistic, specialist and multi-manager strategies. Global macro strategy means that investing into multiple types of investments around the country, around the globe, analyzing the macro trends around the globe, analyzing what is happening around the globe, which economies are going up, which economies are going down, what are the key investment themes, and then capitalizing on those to make returns. This is global macro strategies. So for example, assessment and forecast of inflation, FX rate, yield curve, central bank policies, general economic health, and on the basis of that finding out which economies will do good, which economies will do bad, and on the basis of that taking positions. Or thematic investing, that is taking long position in companies which you think will benefit from certain macroeconomic or trend changes, and taking short position in those which you think will be at disadvantage. Moving on, managed futures, that is taking long and short positions in derivative contracts. For example, futures, forwards, options, swaps. So if you manage a portfolio, if you are making returns by taking positions in derivative contracts or using derivatives, that is known as managed futures. And obviously, as these are derivatives, it is easy to apply large amounts of leverage in it. Within it, there could be time series momentum strategy, or there could be cross-sectional momentum. Time series momentum, what you do is you buy those securities based on momentum, whose prices are rising, and you short sell those whose prices are falling, with the expectation that in short run the momentum will continue. Rising prices will continue to go up and falling prices will continue to go down. Cross-sectional momentum is same as or similar as time series momentum, but the only difference is that it is within a particular asset class. That is, within a particular asset class, if you are investing into different, if you are taking long and short positions in different types of assets or securities, that is known as cross-sectional momentum. Moving on, volatility trading, that is trading on the volatility. That is taking exposure to volatility. If you think volatility will go up, taking long exposure in volatility, and if you think volatility will go down, taking short exposure. And one of the investments, one of the ways of taking this exposure is through VIX. VIX is an index which tracks the volatility of, which tracks the futures contracts on the volatility of S&P 500 index. So this tracks indirectly, what we can say is that it tracks the volatility of S&P 500 index. If volatility of SPX, that is risk, goes up, this goes up. If risk of SPX goes down, this goes down. So that is one way of investing or using this strategy or taking exposure to volatility. Another way could be option strategies, that is like forming portfolios like straddle, calendar spread, bull or bear spread, or other exchange traded options. Another strategy could be making a customized or getting a customized over the counter option to get exposure to volatility. Or another example could be using volatility swaps or variance swaps. So all these strategies or tools could be used to get exposure to volatility, and that is known as volatility trading. That is getting exposure to or volatility or trading volatility. Reinsurance and life settlement. So in life settlement, what happens is that insured persons sell their insurance policy to hedge fund. So if this insured person dies, then hedge fund benefits. Reinsurance. In reinsurance is basically an insurance company getting its insurance reinsured. So what happens in this is that, for example, insurance company will sell insurance to another insurance company to hedge its risk. That is, transfer its risk to another insurance company. That becomes reinsurance. And then this insurance company sells this reinsurance to a hedge fund to transfer its risk to hedge fund. So this is reinsurance, a strategy that is buying reinsurances. And normally hedge funds will purchase those policies, those reinsurance policies which have low price, low ongoing premium payments, and likeliness of insured dying, because they know that if this happens, then they will benefit. Next strategy is fund of funds. Fund of funds is that these are those hedge funds or those funds which invest into different hedge funds. So for example, investing into hedge fund A, investing into hedge fund B, investing into hedge fund C, investing into hedge fund D. So if an investor wants to get exposure to multiple hedge funds, what it can do, or he or she can do, is that instead of finding out these hedge funds, investing in them separately, he or she can directly invest into this fund, and this will provide exposure to all others. So there are multiple benefits to it. Key benefits are that it will help with diversification. That is, instead of getting exposure to one strategy, now you have exposure to multiple hedge fund strategies. And secondly, with this you can take multiple exposure to multiple hedge funds with a smaller amount. Otherwise, if you invest an amount here and in all these, then you will need a large amount to invest. But you can invest a smaller amount here and take exposure to all of these. Then there are many other benefits as well, which you can go through. Key disadvantages: double layering of fee. Now these hedge funds will be charging a fee for managing funds, and then this fund of fund which is investing into these funds will be paying this fee, and this fund then again will be charging a fee to be doing all this, that is investing into all these funds. So this investor will indirectly be paying two layers of fee. One layer of fee which goes to this fund, and the other layer of fee which goes to these hedge funds. And you can go through other disadvantages as well. Multi-strategy hedge funds, similar to fund of fund, but the difference is that in fund of fund there is a fund which invests into different hedge funds. So these hedge funds are different, B, C. In multi-strategy, this is one fund which itself keeps different funds with different strategies. So again, there are some benefits, that is, this fund, as it itself owns all these funds, then the double layering of fees could be avoided. As this fund itself owns all these funds, then obviously there is more transparency, and it knows the real returns and risk associated with these funds. There is more speed, and so this is more attractive and more efficient, again with respect to administrative expenses as well. That is, as it is itself investing into multiple funds, administrative expenses will be shared across, and it will be more efficient. But there is operational risk. That is, if any operational failure happens as this fund, this means that it is happening with all these funds, because this itself the organization of all these funds is same. So that is a key risk compared to fund of fund. But then there are multiple advantages as well. This we have discussed, reinsurance and life settlement. So that is about these strategies, different strategies. Now moving on, factor models and portfolio impact of hedge fund. So if you have a traditional investment portfolio and if you want to combine it with hedge fund, so normally, for example, if you want to add 20% of hedge fund portfolio to it for diversification, then how do you measure the diversification benefits, or how do you analyze what impact the hedge fund strategies is going to have on your portfolio? This is what is covered in this model, in this part of the reading. And so starting with factor models, what are factor models? And within factor model, key model being discussed here is conditional factor risk model. It tells that where is hedge fund generating return from? Where is return coming from to the hedge fund? So it says it could be coming in from due to alpha, that is a skill. It could be coming in from due to random error, or it could be coming in from due to different factors. What are those factors? It says that it says, so what are those factors? So for those factors, Hassan, Hodzik and Lowe provided 6 factors. That there are total 6 factors which can contribute to return apart from alpha and error: equity risk, interest rate risk, currency risk, commodity risk, credit risk, and volatility risk. So all these exposures will provide some returns. However, a stepwise regression to adjust for multicollinearity, because within these there could be multicollinearity, leaves with 4 factors. That there are 4 key factors which contribute to return apart from alpha and random error. That is equity risk, currency risk, credit risk, and volatility risk. So actually these 4 factors contribute to the returns of hedge fund, and in addition to that there is alpha and there is error. Now if you have a portfolio of traditional investment in which you have, for example, equity, if you combine it with these factors from a hedge fund, then obviously that will offer certain diversification benefits. Now what we are going to discuss is that if we combine, for example, if we have a traditional investment portfolio and if we combine it with a hedge fund portfolio, that is, if we put hedge fund, if we put 20% of this portfolio into a hedge fund, then what is the kind of diversification benefits that you can get from different strategies? So if you add 20% allocation to most hedge fund strategies to a traditional portfolio, normally your standard deviation tends to decrease due to diversification, and so Sharpe ratio increases, and so Sortino ratio tends to increase, and overall your risk decreases, risk adjusted return increases due to greater diversification. Why? Because hedge funds would have lower correlation, hedge fund strategies would have lower correlation compared to traditional investment, and your drawdowns also decrease, yes, because these two would have lower correlations, and so you will have some diversification benefits. Now moving on, if you have a traditional portfolio, its Sharpe ratio will increase when you combine it with these hedge fund strategies: systematic futures hedge funds, distressed securities, fixed income arbitrage, global macro, equity market neutral. Why? Because if you look into it, all these would have low correlation with traditional investments, and so when you combine these with traditional investment, they will offer you a lower standard deviation, and so they will offer you higher Sharpe ratio. Similarly, what is the difference between Sharpe ratio and Sortino ratio? Sharpe ratio is focused on standard deviation. Sortino ratio is focused on beta, which is market risk. So these strategies, when you combine these strategies with a traditional portfolio, its Sortino ratio tends to increase. Why? Because its beta will tend to decrease, market risk will tend to decrease. Why? Because if you look into these strategies have low correlation with market. For example, equity market neutral wouldn't have market risk, so it will have low correlation or zero correlation with market, and so it will offer diversification benefits when combined with a traditional market portfolio, and similarly for others as well. Moving on, when you combine traditional portfolio with these strategies, they tend to give you superior performance, that is higher risk adjusted returns, higher Sharpe ratio and higher Sortino ratio. On the other hand, if you combine these strategies with a traditional portfolio, they wouldn't give you any significant benefits. Why? Because if you look into it, these strategies are already diversified, and so their correlation with traditional investment will tend to be a bit higher compared to other strategies, because these are already diversified. So when you combine these already diversified strategies with traditional investment portfolio, then the additional benefit that you get will be very low. So they wouldn't add any significant benefit to the traditional portfolio. So this is about risk adjusted returns, that how can you combine your traditional portfolio with certain strategies to increase Sharpe ratio, or to increase Sortino ratio, or to increase overall risk adjusted return performance. Now moving on to risk, that how can you combine your traditional portfolio with certain strategies to reduce standard deviation. So standard deviation will be lowest if you combine traditional portfolio with these strategies. Why? Because these strategies will be focused on short position, and so these short positions combined with long positions in traditional portfolio will reduce standard deviation due to low correlation amongst them. Furthermore, these strategies will also have low correlation, or will also lead to lower standard deviation when combined with traditional portfolio. Not as low as for these one, but still low. These strategies will have little impact on standard deviation when combined with traditional portfolio. So remember these strategies and their impact, that which would result in a lowest standard deviation, which would reduce standard deviation significantly, and which would not have a significant impact on that. And now last thing, which is drawdown. That is, these strategies when combined with traditional investment portfolio gives the maximum drawdown benefit, that is leads to smallest maximum drawdown. The maximum drawdown will be at its smallest. On the other hand, when these strategies are combined with traditional investment, they do not reduce maximum drawdown significantly, or drawdown wouldn't change significantly. So this is it about the reading. Just go through all the points and do all the questions from Shazar and curriculum.